Hi guys, Blake here with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful Upper Lake Taneycomo, right across from the dock. It is Monday the 24th of August, and I'm going to do the one cast for you today. I am going to try my hand again at the pink powerworm under a float. So let me go over the setup here real quick. I've got about 14 foot in leader total. It's just something handy to have out here so that you can change your depth as much as you need. But I've got an alright sized float right here, and then I'm going to start off at about 10 foot. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. Fish are starting to move over here in the deeper water in the shady spots. I've got a little #1 size split shot, and there's my pink powerworm, about 1 inch of pink powerworm, kind of tapered down. They come in long sections, so I cut a little fat section and tapered it off to a skinnier part with a tail. And I used some fly tying cement to glue the head on. I've got, make sure I got about 10 foot there. Yep. It's easy to tell if you got 10 foot if you're using a 9 foot fly rod. You just put it all the way to the end and add a foot. So my leader though, I've got it tied up. It started off as a 5X leader that you buy and just attach on. And I scooted that down to 6X tippet. I put on about a 5 or 6 foot section of 6X tippet. Oh, and I pulled my mic off. So scooted it down about 5 or 6 foot, attached 6X tippet. Then I added another about 5 foot of that hooked me in the back of the neck. All right, you just got to see me hook myself in the back of the neck with a fly. And so the last 5 foot of my tippet is 7X tippet, which is starting to get really small. Okay, but this is the time of the year when they're doing, you know, very little water generation, and 2 pound tests. I think 7X tippet is the equivalent of 2.4 pound tests, but its diameter is actually smaller than 2 pound tests. But even if you're using spin cast setups, even on your dragging rigs, 2 pound test is going to be what you want. These fish are getting a little smarter. The water's really clear, and you're going to have to pull all the tricks out of the bag. So what that's going to mean is you're going to want your drag set really good. If you're using a spin cast rod, you're going to have to fight them a lot longer and more carefully. And if you're using a fly rod, you're just going to have to really let them work. But last summer it was the same case. We got to this time of the year, and the difference between catching fish on the fly rod was 7X instead of 6X, and the difference between catching them on the spin cast rod was 2 pound test instead of 4 pound test. So if you're out here and you're using the 4 pound or something like that, not getting any hits, I'm telling you right now, go ahead and switch down to 2 pound. You don't even have to necessarily switch your whole reel over. You could just add 6 or 7 foot of 2 pound test to the front of your spin cast rod as a leader, and try that and see if it makes the difference. So I actually came out here to do this earlier. I got called back to the dock, but I was using 6 pound, or not 6 pound, 6X tippet, and I just wasn't, I wasn't having any luck. So I figured if I was going to talk about moving down to smaller line, that I would go ahead and just re-rig it and do it the right way. I'm telling you, once it gets down to the 7x numbers, you almost need a pair of reading glasses or magnifiers to tie that stuff on there easy. Oh, there was a hit. Darn it. Nothing on the first cast. I know that was a few casts ago. And something else I noticed earlier, at least anytime, I'm not the most experienced pink powerworm fisherman yet. I've been trying to learn here one cast at a time. I know I've used it on the last few one casts I've done, trying to get a good feel for it. But the one thing I have noticed, even with the water off, that if there's no wind to move this thing around, I actually think having that split shot on there about 12, 14, 15 inches above the worm, I think that it helps wiggle it back and forth whenever you're giving the bobber the action. So earlier, when I came out here to do it the first time, I did not have a split shot on there. And this time I added the split shot. And I've already had a bite, and I didn't have one the entire time when I did it earlier. So I don't know if that's what's making the difference, or if it was just adding the 7x tippet to the line. But one of the two is helping. Oh, fishing reports this morning. So I rented a boat out to some people that are staying down at Unit 26. They're fishing off of 26's dock this morning. And they said they all caught their limits of fish early this morning. I believe they were using night crawlers, blown up with air. I've seen people periodically catching fish off of our dock this morning. Most of which I think are also using the night crawlers. I did get a chance to talk to Steve Dickey when I got called back to the dock a little bit ago, and they were also using night crawlers blown up with air. So that's probably what I should have went with today. But I really want to get a good grip on this pink powerworm. I'll pull us back in the shade a little bit. I bet that sun is just blinding the camera. Gluing that pink powerworm on there is definitely just a lot easier, especially when you're pulling it out of the water and casting it a bunch. Trying to fish right, so over here against the bank there's kind of a trash line of leaves and debris, and if you watch carefully you'll see these trout come up inside of that trash line, and they're eating little, you know, bugs and whatever else is laying inside of it. And so I'm just trying to fish right there on the outside edge where I might get a fish to come over and hit it. Problem about casting inside of there is it's real easy for that line to get caught on some of that trash, and then it doesn't sink. But yeah, I'd say so far the lure, or not the lure, but the bait of the day is the night crawler injected with air. It's still early, it's just now 10 o'clock I think, but might get some other reports. I know yesterday someone came back late afternoon, sometime around 2 or 3, and said that they had caught their limits of fish on all sculpin jigs. The summertime, those, oh, there was a bite and I looked away just for a second. In the summertime, the darker colors, the sculpins, the all sculpin jig is probably one of my all-time favorites just all around, but especially in the summertime. That all sculpin jig, the olives, they work really good. But yeah, somebody came back maybe just a little bit after they had turned the water on and said that they had all caught their limits using the all sculpin jig. Without any wind, this is still pretty challenging. A really good rule of fishing when the water's off, which the water is off again today. It'll probably be off until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon, but another good rule of fishing with the water off is every 5 minutes. If you're not catching fish in a spot, move down 50 feet, 60 feet, and just keep checking different spots. The fish spread out a whole lot whenever the water's off and they move around. So sometimes it's a matter of catching a couple fish in a spot, moving to another spot and catching a couple fish and just doing that all day. And sometimes it's just about finding where they're more congregated. But yeah, don't beat the dead horse, so to speak. Keep changing up your position and changing up your spots until you find somewhere that's working.
Office to dock.
Oh boy, I might be getting called back again. Go ahead.
Gotta walk in for another pontoon. 7 people. I'm getting them set up.
Alright, I came out to finish the one cast. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Well, looks like my time is going to get cut short again. Looks like I might have time for just about one more cast here. The only other two adjustments that I could make here other than moving spots would be pinch off a little more of the worm, see if they're looking for something something smaller, or continue to play around with the depth under the indicator. And those are just the ways that you dial in, you know, how the fish are biting when you're using the pink powerworm. Oh, there was a hit. Come on, come back for it. They are just barely hitting it. If I had a smaller indicator, I might stand a better chance of seeing that bite a little better, because they are just barely pulling on it. And that's kind of been the case lately. Not only do you need the smaller line and a little more patience, but they're also biting it really soft. I imagine that has something to do with the lower oxygen levels. But just one of those things. In order to, if you're using an indicator, if you want to see the bite better, use a smaller indicator. But it looks like I'm going to have to give up on this one without a fish again today. Fish are putting the whooping on me lately. But that is why they call it fishing and not catching. Alright. Last cast. Going deep, close to the bank here. Right there on the other side of the trash line. Looks like my line may have gotten caught on a leaf there. Which is the problem with when you're fishing into the Oh, well, I'm certainly getting bites now that earlier I wasn't even getting bites when I had the 6X tippet on. I'm getting bites now. They're really, really light. I don't know if they're just really small fish or if that's just how light these fish are hitting right now. Probably a combination of both. This is a method I highly recommend though for when the water's off. Just get out here, make the adjustments, switch your spot when you're not catching fish. Like I should have already switched my spot. I should have already moved farther up or down by now. I don't see anybody coming down from the office yet, so I think I got time for one more try. But keep, you know, switch the size of your power worm, switch your depth. You know, every 5 or 10 minutes, just make one of those adjustments, and you will most likely find some fish. If you don't have any wind, don't forget to keep that bobber moving. I had a bite again. I mean, they're not even pulling the bobber under. They're just, oh my. They're just barely hitting it. I gotta get in there one more time. I know that fish he hit that 2 or 3 times in a row. We went night fishing. Me and a couple buddies went night fishing last night. Bite was a little slower. It really didn't turn on until like 1 a.m. And we didn't stay out but another hour past that. But around that 1 a.m. time, from 1 to 2, we really caught a lot of fish. But until then, we didn't have a whole lot of bites. Well, looks like I gotta go, guys. So we thank you for watching. The fish win again today, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Maybe we'll get one up on the fish tomorrow. All right, thanks for watching, guys.